Mm.
Okay, so what's up, Maxine? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm all good. I'm all good. Thanks a million for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for the invitation. Really.
Yeah, no worries. And so I suppose we'll start where we start where I tend to start with everybody is like, how did you get started in Taekwondo? Like, where did your martial arts journey begin?
Yes. Actually, I started in Taekwondo when I was 7. So one person in my family, my cousin, actually was practicing Taekwondo already, and I went to one of his tournament, and that's how I was like, oh, got interested into it, and my parents saw that I liked it, so they just decided to sign me up to a class, and that's how I got started. So I was going there, like once a week on Saturdays, the normal class, and from there that's when like my passion grew, especially when I competed to my first tournament. So I was a white belt, I think I had like yellow stripe or something, and I lost first round in pattern, and I was kind of mad, but I didn't want to show anything, and I remember telling myself like next time that will be the time. And so that's how I got started into wanting to compete and wanted to get like better. So yeah.
Yeah, and did you play any other sports when you were growing up?
Yeah, well, I tried swimming, dancing, even it's starting in taekwondo. Also, I was also playing soccer, so that I was really like into sport. Not necessarily, yeah. I tried a bunch of other sport, but taekwondo was really the one that was the most focused on. Yeah.
Was it always like that, even straight away, like from when you first started, you found it was Taekwondo was the one?
Yeah, I felt that. Just the other one was like, to try to make, like, my parent was like, all right, let's try this, let's try that, just to see what I was liking. And when I got into taekwondo, there was like so much thing I could do. Like, I felt that there was like so much thing to learn, and the fact that I could compete, because in the other sport I never really competed beside soccer. But soccer I was a bit older, I would say, when I was like in a team, and I was in this team for like 4 years, but I didn't get really attached to the people. And there, I feel that was a more like an individual competitor. So I prefer like Taekwondo. Yeah.
Yeah. And was there more discipline? Was there one discipline you liked more than the other at that time when you first started competing? Were you more patterns, more sparring, or did you always love competing?
Yeah.
Love both?
Actually, funny enough, I was better in sparring when I started, but I really, really wanted to be good at patterns. So I was like putting a lot of hours and a lot of training into patterns when I was younger to get it right, to get it like perfect. But for some reason, when I was competing in sparring, it was way easier for me. Like I was winning first place more, and then I was always losing like in final, in patterns, or like getting third place, or I was good, but in my head I was like, why can I not be like either the same or like the same thing? For me, I preferred pattern at that point, but I was better in sparring for some reason.
Yeah. I was the opposite. I always preferred patterns when I was a kid. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Didn't really. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy sparring. I just wasn't like I was always like in training. I'd spar and I'd do well and that. But when it came to the competition, like I just wouldn't come together. And then when I don't know, was it this thing? When you're a kid, you're told you're not supposed to fight and all this. So when I got into, I was about blue belt and 10 or 11. I started to enjoy fighting more and enjoy sparring more. So and then I kind of transitioned to where like I'll go back to patterns, but I'm not really competing in them much now, and I'm mostly just sparring. But yeah, it's mad how it kind of switches around, like, isn't it?
Yeah, same. At some point, I would say maybe when I was I a blue belt or a green belt? That's when I kind of switched to like preferring pattern, but then sparring, just because I think the people in my division, it was starting like people. It was there were still guys in my division at that point. Like as a kid, like if we were mixed, obviously, so it was still boys in my division, and it was getting a bit rough. So it became like I don't know if I like it as much now, and I started winning more in patterns. So I was like, all right, now I'm more in pattern, but I was still fighting. But yeah, at this point I would say I had a hard time managing my emotions. Like when I was younger, I was able to just I say put my energy into like, all right, if I don't want to lose, so I'm gonna do everything that I can, and I would end up like winning. So that was great. But at some point when I got into like a bit more fearful mindset of like, oh my god, it's hitting like harder than I thought, or stuff like that, then it became a bit harder for me. So I just switched a bit towards like pattern, got back to sparring, then pattern. It switched a lot actually.
Yeah, I think even as well, like for me, it was like with patterns, the fact that you didn't have to interact with the other person to win is, do you know what I mean? You could just put in your performance, and if your performance was good enough, it was it was good enough. You didn't really have to like try and outthink. You didn't have to think too much. You didn't have to outthink the other person too much.
Mm, that is so true. And I think at some point though, I was really into like I understood that I think later because even in the beginning pattern, I was always thinking of about the person beside me. I was like, oh, what's he doing? Where is he at? Like, and there was always the same people in my division, so I knew who they were, and I was like, oh, I'm again against this person. So it took me some time to be like, you know what, I'm doing my own thing. You know, I have to focus on myself instead of focusing on the person next to me. But yeah, that's so true. It makes a whole difference. Now I know.
And so, like, when did you grade for black belt? What age were you when you would have graded for black belt?
I got my black belt at 11, actually. Yeah.
Young.
Pretty young. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I turned black belt at 11. And yeah, at that point, yeah, I was really into it. And that was my goal to like to get my black belt at this age. I was like waking up super early, going for a run with my mom and like getting my workouts before school at that point, which is so funny when I think about it now. But yeah, I was really into it. So that was like my first like big achievement. And I remember like here in the town where I live, like I said, it's like a smaller town. So I passed in the newspaper and I was telling how much I wanted to be like a ninth dan and like, you know, later on how I was seeing myself at this age. So pretty cute. Yeah.
Yeah. She's 11. Are you still allowed grade? Like in Ireland, you can't grade the black belt until you're 13. So like,
Okay.
is that rule is like, can you still grade it in Canada? Can you still grade to black belt at 11? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, they are letting you. Actually, the only I would say the only moment I really waited for like to grade was for my fourth degree. I had to be 21. So since I got my first dan when I was 11, obviously like when I kept going, I was still like, you know, getting my second dan, then after 2 years, et cetera, et cetera. And then I had to wait, I think 5 years to get my fourth degree. But obviously I was fine because I was competing at the same time. So I wasn't always like, I have to get, you know, the next grade right away. I wasn't like only focused on that. Since I was competing, that was helping me a lot to just, you know, wait, be patient and just go with the flow with that.
Yeah. I think you nearly see
Mhm.
that more. A lot of times I think you see it nearly the other way though. Yeah, like, because I know myself and I know some other people, they spent a lot of time at first degree and then kind of go through the rest of the grades quick. Like I spent like maybe the longest time at first degree, like longer than I
Actually,
needed to.
yeah, yeah, I know. Same thing for me. I know that people who stay like first degree and just, you know, stay there is fine since they were like competing and they don't want to go to the next one. Since I was really oriented towards like pattern at this point, I would say for my first world championship, I was obviously first degree and I was 14 and I could only compete in patterns because to get selected, I was 13. I had to accumulate points. That's how we work here in Canada. You have to accumulate points, then go to national again. You have to win either first or second place to be picked on the team. Um, but yeah, since I was like younger than the age that they were asking for to be a junior to be a junior, I only did pattern at this point. And yeah, so I only did pattern, so that was really focused on that. So I didn't mind to, you know, pass another degree afterward, you know, like when it was going higher, like with time.
So then what was the first major international tournament you went to then?
International, yeah, that was the world championship in 2009 in Argentina.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. I didn't get it. I didn't go to that one. I could have, but
Oh, which
yeah, I wasn't at that one. I still always regret that because anybody who was there always says like the atmosphere was unbelievable and stuff, like, and says it was a great world championship. So I was old enough and all that. I could have went if I didn't even go for selection. Um,
one?
but I kind of maybe wish I did looking back. But hey, look, it is what it is.
Yeah. How old are you right now?
At 25.
Oh, you're 25? Oh, okay. We're the same age. Okay. I thought by saying that maybe, okay, maybe you have a difference of like in months and stuff. Ah,
No, so
interesting.
yeah, I just at the time it maybe wasn't on the radar. I suppose it was because there was some other political stuff as well, like how our association was only just getting back in to be allowed to compete on the national team and stuff. So it wasn't really something I knew massively about at the time, even really. So, but then I ended up going to the next one in 20. Like I went to the European Championships then a couple of months, like that would have been the next one after the World Championships in Argentina, and they haven't got rid of me since.
Right, there you go. Oh, that's not, yeah, that was, like you said, the embassy over there was really, that's how it got me like, yeah, I want to do that, that's for sure. Like, that was my, like you said, my first big international tournament. My first time also traveling that far, like getting out of like, I visited like the US and stuff like that around me, but it's the first time doing like really elsewhere. And yeah, it was an amazing experience that what got me into like wanting to go to other ones for sure. Mm-hmm.
And how did the competition go?
Um, I was well, result wise, I lost first round, but that was for me like just yeah, the experience itself, just realizing that everybody who's there right now has the same passion as me, wants the same thing as me. Like this whole energy was so dense, was so intense and rich that I didn't mind at all to lose over there. Like in my mind, I was just like enjoying the experience. And also I was like, all right, next time that I'm coming back, now I know how it's gonna be, like the energy and how I have to deal with it. So it was like everything was a first time for me, like to be with that many people, because usually like in Canada, yeah, we used to have like many competitors, but obviously not as much, obviously. And since Argentina, they have even more people. But yeah, so I didn't feel disappointed in anything because I was just there for the experience, and that just got me into wanting even more for the next World Championship, which was the one in New Zealand in 2011. So I went to this one, and instead of only participating in patterns, I participated in patterns and sparring and power breaking and team sparring and team power breaking. I got selected for all of that. So I was like, since I'm going for everything that I can. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you see that a lot, and I know that was definitely the case for me. The first one was definitely an eye opener to kind of see the level you have to get to. Like you see so many people
Exactly.
in a big arena, and it's daunting like when you haven't done it before, and you get to see the level of competition, and you see like the step up you have to make, because it's hard for somebody to explain to you the difference in level to what you're used to what the level is at a tournament like this. You kind of have to experience it.
Totally. And yeah, that's so true because I didn't know what to expect exactly. So everything that I was doing nationally, like here in Canada, I didn't know how it would be at like in another tournament. So I didn't know what to expect, what to think about really when I was over there. So that was really like first time in everything. And I really enjoyed like watching other people. So that was my first time to really watch, world champions and really watch people who were like up there, like up in yeah, like higher level. And I was like, all right, now I know that I want to go over there. So I know who I have to watch and how they are like, acting, how they are reacting, how they are managing things. And yeah, so that gave me a great look of like what I want to go, where I want to go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it helps you discover, because you nearly, when you go to the first one, you nearly don't like you'd hear, like, I suppose you'd know some of the big names, like you would know like the likes of Barada and that going to the tournaments, but there's other names that you don't really maybe haven't heard of, but then you get to go and you see them compete and you see them firsthand. You're like, geez, these people are really good, and then you maybe go home and you watch more of them on YouTube and you try to look at them more, like, and see what they're like then.
That yeah, that's true. And even people like around me, like some people in my team that were older than me, that I was like, I never see them compete at this level. So it was like nice to see them, like how they would react. But yes, again, like big names, like was she at that point? I don't know. Like for me, one of my like big idol when I was younger was Kessa Solvay, and I don't think she was there. I think no, yeah, I don't remember. I don't know if I saw her over there or I saw someone else over there, but like this division was like really like one that I was watching a lot. The senior women lightweight. Well, the one that I am in right now, but that was like, all right, I think this one's gonna be a great one. Yeah, I remember watching that and be like, yes, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Catch is probably, she's probably my favorite fighter, male or female. I
Yeah,
love watching Catch. I love watching those highlight videos that Oleg has put up on YouTube. I've watched them a lot. They were they're class videos. I love watching. Even going back, I watched them kind of at the kind of close to the start of the, when everything closed down, the start of the pandemic, because I hadn't kind of watched them in maybe a year or two, and it was great to go back and watch them. I thought, I was like, they're just as good.
culture. No, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think she was in Argentina. Don't think she
I'm
was.
not sure more like I know she wasn't there in New Zealand because they couldn't get like the visa, the old Ukraine team. I'm not sure. Yeah, at all about Argentina. Like I have this feeling, but I'm not sure because I've watched. Yeah, what should I was really into at that point too. Julia Cross, I think she was there. But yeah, so that was like the name that I had in mind at that point. But yeah, I don't remember to be honest.
Yeah. And like through your time competing, did you feel like that either there was more of a physical change or more like a mental change that you had to maybe make in your preparation at any point in time?
I would say that through time, I really like evolve into like thinking that my physical preparation was the most important thing because I wasn't really aware of like the mental part until yeah, because my big, well, I say big problem, but really the big thing for me was to manage my emotions. And for me, I really thought it's because had a lack of confidence, like I didn't have enough confidence in myself and my abilities, but I was still, getting results and stuff like that. So I thought it was just a matter of training more and, getting my physical form into getting in better shape even more than I was already, even though I was like training I was going to most classes at my school. And I added physical training with a kinesiologist at some point because someone approached me and was like, oh, I can, show you some exercise and then be a trainer. And so that's how I got started pretty young, actually. Maybe I was 14, 15 when I got approached. So after school, I was always going to the gym and then got trained. And then at night going to Taekwondo like classes. And I thought that was, what I needed. And at some point it was a big deal for me to manage my emotion because I was always trying at each classes. It was such a, yeah, because I was pretty perfectionist and I had a hard time like dealing with critiques, and I thought that it was bad if I was getting critique, even though like deep down I was like I need to hear that if I want to improve. But then I was like telling me myself that you're not good enough. Then if they were telling you that you have to be even better and that's not enough what you're doing, and that kind of speech in my mind was getting myself crazy, and I was getting mad at myself for thinking this way, and just a whole like cycle of like getting mad, even more mad, and then I would just start crying to like release this energy that was getting stuck in my body. So each time that there was something I had to work on, I would get really frustrated, and then some tears would run down my face, and that was just it. And at some point, even my coach and my trainer were used to it. They were not asking if I was in pain because I wasn't in pain like physically. It was just really mentally I was in pain, not being able to manage the emotion, whatever I was feeling, and the thoughts that I had in my mind were pretty negative, I would say. So it's until I saw a second, because I saw a fruit psychologist for that, and sadly it didn't help. Like he told me something to do. I was just like, are you kidding me? But that's another story. And the second one that I went to see, he actually really helped me in telling me basically that I had the right to cry. And I was like, what? So that's really what changed a lot in my mind, just because I had a hard time, like I said, dealing with emotion. But for me, I wasn't giving myself permission to be angry or to be like, to cry, because for me it didn't have any place when I was performing. Like, you should not cry, you should be mad, you should be frustrated, you should just be like neutral. Otherwise people would perceive that, and it's in my head it wasn't a good thing. So when I learned that it was fine, that it's okay that I cry, he also told me like an exercise to do, which was to challenge myself to cry even more as soon as I feel that I want to cry. So this way I'm giving myself permission to do so, and I would not feel the need to do it anymore. And that really worked. And now I'm like, all right, okay, this whole thing really helped me. So there's maybe something else to explore in this area of like the mental part. So that's how I got into the mental preparation.
Yeah. And I think that, do you think that,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably a big thing, is that like you said, like when you were crying, you kind of felt like you're not supposed to cry. And I think there's
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people have that before they, especially like just before you step on the mats to compete, to where you might, where you have some doubt. and everybody go like and the
Yeah.
first thought is, I'm not supposed to have any doubt, like I'm not supposed to be thinking like this, and you start to panic because why am I thinking like this? But it's actually quite normal to think like that, and like everybody's probably feeling the same, or has at least had the thought that like of doubt. But it's kind of maybe what you do after that, then I would think.
Well, actually, yeah, because I feel, and I totally agree with you. Like for me, it was like, the crying, and even like having negative thoughts, feeling stressed. I thought that was something wrong, like the way I would perceive it is like, it's wrong to feel this way or to think like that. So by saying this and by believing this, you even feel like worse about yourself. It's not helping you to like think that. So you're just like feeling even more either ashamed or like a culpability towards like that, because you think you should not be thinking like that, and you're trying to like cancel the thought or like cancel the feeling. You're like, no, 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 I should not be stressed, I should not be stressed, I should think positive, and then you're not helping yourself this way. But until you realize it, you think that's the way to go because you're told to, yeah, you should think positive. So if you're not thinking positive, it means it's wrong, you know but actually it's more about knowing that the negative thought will be there and it's fine, but you choose to think about positive stuff. You choose each time. It's just a choice to like go towards the negative instead of the positive. It's not right or wrong, it's just a choice.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of comes into then as well, like like everybody will understand that like the mental side of the game is really important, but then there isn't so much that they want to work on it, because to work on it would have to admit then as well, like that there was potentially a problem as such, you know. And
Yeah.
and the thing is, like, especially I suppose in even the sport that we're in, given that it's like a combat sport, and it's
Mhm.
it's essentially a fight, is like you have to be macho, and you have to be mentally strong and tough. So you don't want to admit that, oh, in certain moments I was maybe mentally weak, and then that holds you back. Like, you don't people don't want to admit to themselves nearly that they were mentally weak, whereas you're better off to just merely, or the first part of fixing the problem is admitting there was maybe a problem, and then trying to fix it and improve and do something about it.
Totally. No, that's true. And I think the problem is the way we see the problem, meaning that we think that by having weaknesses and having a problem is something bad. So again, we don't want to go this way because we're like, no, 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 I don't want to see that because it means that it's not good and I'm wrong and there's something bad about me. But there's nothing wrong about yourself. It's just something that you can address, and it's even a good thing. And it takes a lot of courage to just see like, yeah, I do have this right now that I'm going through, that I'm not dealing with, that's not helping me right now. So that's usually what happens when you feel that you're not improving anymore, and there's like, you don't really get the result that you want, or you're just thinking in your head like, why do I not see any more progress? Like there's something, and usually it's in your mind. It's a lot about your mind, because there's something, like you said, you're not really honest about what's not working, but you don't want to look at it. So just by saying that it's okay that you have that, it's actually everybody has that. You're like, all right, so I'm giving myself the permission to look at it, and now from there I can work on it and see what I can do with it.
Yeah, because obviously, like if you've lost in competition, you can always point to the physical stuff, to, well, oh, maybe I shouldn't have thrown this kick here, I should have done this here. Like, that's easy to look at, and that, like, that's probably is correct, and of course you have to look at that as well. But maybe you could make the biggest improvement by, like, maybe was it what you were thinking at a certain time, what you were feeling at a certain time, maybe going there, maybe that's the biggest problem. Maybe you could do it addressing that first. But sometimes people just want to brush that stuff to the side and just focus on just the physical stuff that I need to get better at.
Yeah, I think it's easier this way because the physical is really the part that we see, that we physically see, and that we can say like, yeah, if I improve that, for sure there's going to be again improvement and more achievement. But then again, that all stuff from your mind, like your actions are directed in the life from your emotion and from your thoughts. So if you work with your thought, and even if we go higher than that, it starts with all your beliefs. So if you work with your beliefs, you work with your thoughts, then you work with your emotion, and then your reaction, and from your reaction you get the results. So it's a big thing that's some we don't think about. So we usually work on the result and think that we have to like make some change in to the action that we put on and we put in, but actually it goes higher than that. We have to look higher and like another how can I say that, other area, like another level, which is not, it's like the unseen. It's the part that is not physical, but it's like in your mind, which usually all it comes for. So if you, yeah, like you said, if there's something that went wrong, you could say like, oh, I wasn't like quick enough. I was super tense. I was so stressed. So next time I have to relax. That's obviously easy to say, but then what made you stressed? What were you thinking to feel that you were stressed? Then how come did you think that this person was maybe better? Because that was the thought that came to your mind. That's why you became tense, and your body reacts to what you think. So as soon as you have a better idea and better consciousness of what are your thoughts, you can play with that and have the result that you're looking for, because you're more aligned.
Yeah. I think even as well, like as you said, people can sometimes get caught up on like the result is the only thing that matters to some degree, and obviously like it does. It's a sport, it's competitive, the result does matter. Like, but do you enjoy, you could go like you said, the unseen, do you just enjoy training? Do you enjoy just getting on the mats competing? Do you enjoy the whole process of it? And like again, that's not physical, like nobody can see, that's more of a mental thing, like, and how you're feeling and the emotion that goes with just training. Do you enjoy all that? And maybe if you don't win, okay, that was maybe there wasn't success in the result, but you had success because you enjoyed how you were spending your time for the last couple of weeks, months.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that when you think about it, like the result at the end, like if you got a medal or not, for example, if you want to see the result like that, this is like mainly, I don't know, like 1% of like the whole process of, the journey itself. So if you didn't enjoy like the whole journey, it's like you've missed all that time. So it's just like, yeah, thinking about what's gonna happen at the end of the day without knowing what really happened during the day. Like just thinking about the future and what's ahead of you without being really in the present moment. So it's all related to that. And yeah, without enjoyment, without pleasure. And I think another thing that's really important to have in mind is to know for yourself what is really success, because we always attribute success to a result, but at the end of the day, like we just said, like the result is like 1% of your whole journey. So success, if it's only that, the only way that you can think that you're successful, it plays a big role in the way you think and the way you will react, because you get so attached to the result, and that's not always helpful when you want to enjoy and be playful and really have a good time, if you're too attached to the result.
Yeah. I like with
Mhm.
the result in as well, you end up feeling that like if you've given a couple of months of preparation to go to this tournament and you lose and you don't get the gold medal, well, that was a waste of time. I was just wasted a couple of, was like, but did you, like you say, if you enjoyed all that time, if you enjoyed the training, if you enjoyed every day you were training, then was it a waste of time?
Exactly. Like, yeah, that's really the thing. Like, that's a choice to see only the result as the only thing that matters. Like, there's so many things that happens through your training, through every other day that you put the work in, and the people that you met, like the whole progression that you were able to see while you were training, and even everything that you learned through your sport that can be seen in other area of your life. You can, as soon as you're able to transfer all that knowledge in other area, you see how much the process was important, because it taught you so many things beside like getting a certain result. So the result is just really something that you get at the end of the day that only means something depending what you decided to mean, if that makes sense. I don't know if I said it right, but the meaning depends on you. Like if you attach so much to it, you forget a lot of things that could make you even happier than you think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you said, with just like for yourself, and you like the extra you were told, like you were able to like don't hold back from your emotions, like you have the right to cry. Was there any other exercises or anything else like that kind of helped, or that you were given at that time that kind of helped you to change and strengthen your mindset?
Yeah, I would say the big thing for me that I did for my mindset, for my emotions, is obviously writing. A lot of writing. For me, that was something, because like telling out loud like my emotion, that will help me with other people, like saying yes, I'm mad, and being okay with it. It's just the more you do it, obviously the more you do it, the more you feel comfortable with it, and telling yourself that it's just in your head. And one thing that helps me a lot, and even that I still do now, because yeah, still doing that kind of work in my day-to-day life and in sport, is really being able to dissociate like either your ego or this other voice in your head and yourself. So what I mean by that is every doubts and every negative thought you have, you can dissociate that and look it as another person or the ego, if you've ever heard of like that type of work. So I like to see it as something external for me. So I know when this voice is talking in my head, it's, you know, it's not me. It's this fearful voice that just wants to protect me, wants to help me, but his way of doing it is maybe not the best way ever for me to improve and to grow. So as soon as I know that and I dissociate myself from these thoughts, I can be like, all right, I understand, like, thank you, but no thanks. You know, like I want to do these things and I know deep down that I have this confidence. And that's something you build again, like something, you know, but there's always this other voice sometimes that you listen too much to and that takes over, and that's when you underperform or you feel stress and everything. So everything related to fear, to stress, to doubt, you can attribute it to this external voice. And then anything else, like the positive, the choices and the joy, the pleasure, you associate it to who you are as a person. So that really helped me to deal, like as soon as I will get conscious, that's the first step. Usually that's a big work. Like a first exercise is just to be able to realize when you think about those negative thoughts, when you feel doubtful, when you realize that, you're like, oh, look who's talking right now, you know, being like, put some humor into that also, like that's funny. But like to try to realize who's talking right now and be like, all right, I understand your point of view. You can say that to your head and be like, but I decide to choose otherwise, you know, I decide to still be positive about it. So when I was in tournament, like last tournament specifically like 2019, that was a big one for me, which I got really good result, but that was also the one that I was most prepared mentally talking, emotionally talking. And I was able to manage to, as soon as I would get the stress, I will attribute stress another meaning. Instead of thinking that stress is a bad thing that will not help me, I was thinking that since I'm stressed, it means that I'm getting enthusiastic about what's going to happen. You know, my body is getting ready to perform. My body is getting ready to do something amazing. So by seeing it this way, my body will be like, oh my God, we're ready. You know, we're ready to go. And that's okay to feel this way in my body. So it's really a matter of perspective. And as soon as I would have like a bout or something like that, I would not feel bad about it. I would not be like, oh my God, why it's there. But I would more think about, all right, but even though this is happening, like even though I'm thinking like that, what do I want to think about instead? Like, what's the other thought? So I'll be like, oh yeah, this person's doing that, but I'm good. I just, you know, I just prepare myself. That's fine. You know, I'm okay. Like, and just play with that, just being super aware and conscious of the thoughts and be like, okay, that's fine. No worries. And finding something else that I want to think about better and feel better in my body. Just really connecting the mind and the body together.
Yeah. I know even myself kind of subconsciously without even thinking, like when it's only I suppose when I look back is like there's definitely been times for myself where I've, you know, it's time to warm up and you're kind of like looking at the clock going, oh my God, I wish I had another hour. I wish I was another hour away. Like I'd like put that back. The nerves, like the nerves start kicking in and you'd nearly like want to put it back because it's like then you don't have to deal with the nerves, or the nerves might go away if the further away the event is. But then I know then like at the European Championships that had like just gone last October, like
Mm.
kind of had a much more, and again, it wasn't a conscious thought, it was only like a subconscious thing to some degree that the nerves were kicking in, it started coming on, and it was kind of like, all right, here we go. You know, it was
Mm.
like, all right, here we go. It's getting close. It's like, this is why I'm here. Like, this, it does, because I was only getting a buzz off the nerves, if you know what I mean. Like, there was, like, it was like, oh yeah, we're getting close now. We're going to, you know, there was just this, a much more kind of different thought that I would have had at different times before. Um, Now, it's not to say maybe go back to feeling the way I did before as well, because I don't think it's ever like a set in stone thing that this is the way you feel every time now you go to do these things. I think it's often moving and it can change from event to event. But that was definitely for me the last time like stepped on a big event, like just the nerves. It was kind of, I nearly just embraced them more and I was happy to have them.
Totally, yeah. Like you said, I think it's a good way to say like embrace it instead of like fearing it and thinking it's, again, it's really the perspective, how you see it, how you think it is. If you decide it's wrong, everything around is gonna be wrong, and your mind wants to help you. You know, your mental wants to tell you that you're right about what you think. So it's going to give you every reason possible to think that's wrong if you believe it deep down. So if you decide to switch it and do the work towards that and switch it to something that you believe that is positive, that is true, that is right, then it's going to find every proof for you to think that it's right. That's how your mind works. So yeah, by saying that you embrace the nerve is like, now you're good with it. You know, when it's there, you're happy about it. You're happy that it's going to help you, and you're able to associate like nerves, like stress, or even some a bit of anxiety with like, oh, look at that, my body is getting warmed up, it's getting ready to like to do something like amazing and to perform is like best potential. So you just, you roll with it, you know.
Yeah. And like, how big do you think I suppose you can't buy it as an experience, like to be able to, like being able to compare how you felt in one situation to how you felt in the next one. It's like, well, I felt like this in this situation and I did poorly. And then I was kind of thinking and feeling like this in this situation and I did well. And kind of like, what was the difference? Like, what did I do differently? Why was that? Like, do you think experience is a massive thing there, to being able to go back and compare your previous experiences, I suppose, or different
Mhm.
situations?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, when I go back, experience has a lot, and letting yourself experience as well, like meaning that knowing whatever result you're gonna get is just gonna help you getting even better. Either if you lose or win, it's always just a step to, you know, make you improve. But when I look back at my, I don't, I try to think like worst experience, like worst, the one of the bad experience that I had, or really that wasn't I wasn't that happy about, because I used before to be so frustrated after every loss. It was really like a thing. I wasn't able to watch my videos like afterward, like forget about it, because I didn't want to go back in this kind of emotion of like deception and like, oh my God, why did I act this way? Or why did I react this way? And blah, blah, blah. So and then when I was able to make the switch to like watch the video and be able to see the positive and like the good thing that I made, again, it was a whole process to be able to enjoy the whole thing. And I think it's that's experience. And you can, I don't think like people who just start, you can give them right away that, you know, it's going to be fine, it's going to be okay. They have to experience it and then they will believe it. But that's okay, like to just talk about it to them. So this way they have a certain awareness towards that, like, okay, they're saying that, but I don't really know what they're talking about. And then the experience is like, all right, okay, now I get it. But you know, it's still important, I think. And for me, when I had, I said, I would say worst experience when really I felt Ireland, for me, for example, 2017, I don't know if I'll consider like my worst, but I feel that I really trained and really got ready for it. Physically talking, mainly physically talking, I was super ready. And when I got to like fighting, I won my first round. Did I won the second or I lost second? I don't remember. I think I went through like 2 or 3 rounds like in sparring. And like when I lost last minute. It was like, you know, like a switch, and I lost, and I'm like, really? Like that's all for that? Like, because at this point I remember doubting myself, and I wasn't like going for it anymore. I was just like trying to defend myself and protect myself, and it wasn't really the mindset that I wanted, like afterward thinking about it, obviously. But that was, all right, why did I block myself this way, like knowing that I done so much and I could have done even more. So I wasn't like that happy about this performance. And that's when I was like, all right, now I have to do something about my mindset. Now I have to switch it up at some point, because this way of doing things, my way of training, is not serving me anymore. Like it's not helping me. I have to listen more to, you know, the intuition and stuff like that, because I know how to train and I know how to fight and how to compete, but I don't let myself do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm blocking myself with my own mind, with my own thoughts. So I had to put aside the training work, like a bit more than what I used to do. So less training, but adding more training to the mental preparation. So more time for the mental preparation, more way to do it my own way, and like feel when it's better for me to work out, when it's not, when I should do this or that. So really listening to myself more. And then it brought me to my best tournament, which was the 2019 for me, the World Championship, because obviously result wise, it was really, really good. But also my mindset when I was over there, I just enjoyed the whole thing. Like I had such a good time, such a blast. I was like, so chill compared to like what I've experienced before. The big difference for me that I realized is, first of all, I got tested right away when I got there. Like I forgot my dobak at the hotel, so I had to go back all the way to the hotel, which was like super far away, like 20 minutes, and then come back. And knowing in my head that I would have to cut my warm up time in half, obviously. So I was like, all right, look at that. Like, and I laughed at it because I was like, I'm being tested right now to see how I'm reacting. How's my mindset going? So I was like, I'm fine, you know. I would just warm up a bit, know exactly what I want to do to feel ready, and I'll just go with that. And it went super good. Like I finished like second in patterns, like why like that was fine. And yeah, from there when I got this little challenge of like, all right, this is how ready I am. Like I feel really good in myself. And also the other thing that would tell me that I was ready is also I was able to be social with people, because I used to be really like have to be in my bubble. I don't want to talk to anybody. Everybody's gonna mess my mood. Like I was thinking that. But then at this tournament, it was my first time being able to open up a lot and be just, listening to my music, doing my thing. But at some point I was able to talk with, my coach even more, with my friend who was there. Just being, yeah, feeling great, open, having pleasure, and knowing that that will help me to feel even better to compete. So it wasn't a bad thing anymore to get social while being at a tournament. It was a good thing to help me being a bit in a better mood. So yeah, I would say that was a big difference for me.
Yeah, I think is definitely a thing I like to is you get there and you get to these tournaments, and because like you mightn't compete for a day or 2 days, 3 days, depending on what events you're in, but like usually you have a day or two where you maybe don't compete at the start because maybe when you get there and the weigh-ins the next day sort of stuff.
Mm.
And you, I know this happened to myself, but I would imagine it's been other people. You're getting nervous and you've just got to the airport to go to the wherever the tournament's on, and there's like this. You're just kind of nervous and a bit tense and a bit anxious, like that. Like there's an underlying nervousness or underlying anxiousness because you're kind of like, all right, it's 2 days till I'm competing. Oh, it's 1 day till I'm competing, and there's this kind of this underlying thing, and you don't ever really enjoy it because you're kind of like, oh, I'm competing soon. I'm competing soon. Whereas when you can get rid of that and just relax, and just chill, you don't worry about it as much. You have more
Mhm.
energy nearly then to compete.
Yeah, I had a lot of energy. I think the way for dealing with that, because yeah, I totally understand that as soon as you get to this like other country and you're like, all right, right now it's serious. I'm about to compete like in maybe 3 4 days. I don't know. And I know for me the thing that will help me the most was like to have a specific routine, like at night, knowing that and I improved it a lot before the World Championship in 2019. That was really like at its peak, I would say that. But having a specific routine would just bring me back to how I want to feel. So, when you feel stressed, you know exactly how it reflects on your body, like how you feel when you're tense. Your shoulder is a certain way. You feel your hands a certain way too. You have these thoughts, blah blah. So then after that, I was like, all right, how do I want to feel instead? And I mainly focusing on what I want instead of what I don't want. So even though I was feeling like, so I'm like, okay, that's fine, but I want to feel like a bit more relaxed. And relax, was that mean, oh yeah, true, my shoulder has to be like, a bit down like this, and breathe a certain way and think about this time that it went super well, and like just bringing everything that will make me feel better. And if it's talking with someone, fine. To eat certain thing, fine. Like just to make you in this type of mood mindset that makes you feel better. And my night routine was mainly a night routine that I was doing before the tournament, was mainly that, just visualization, and also bringing a lot of emotion into it, meaning that when I was warming up, I would feel my whole body like through the warm up, even though it was in my head, like I was able to associate my body, even though it was just a move in my head that I was making. Same thing with like, I would see my whole tournament, how it will go, how I want to feel when I compete, and also when I'm going to be on the podium, how I want to feel, like everything, to make sure that my mind remembers that. And when I will compete for real, it will know what to do because it already done that in the past. Like the brain doesn't make the difference in between like what you're visualizing in your head and what's really happening in the present, so you can use that at your advantage.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would think. Okay, yeah. for that them like that those rituals at nighttime can be, or routines can be very important. Like that, just even something like simple as packing your bag the night before, so when you get up in the morning, you don't have to worry about it, and you don't have that stress of have I got my gum shield in my bag, have I got my ID card, or have I got my doorbuck, or
I had one, but it wasn't the good one. Like, for some reason that is so crazy because yeah, yes, like I do that and religiously, like I really pack my thing the night before, making sure everything's there. Also making a list on my phone to make sure. And yeah, that's either way that was meant to be for me to test me. That's what I believe. But yeah, you totally that's part of the routine, like just making sure, like being, I guess, like all yeah, prepared just in case something happened. But you know, if that's prepare, you feel better. You don't have to think about a thing. You just have to focus on what you have to do. But yeah, that's part of it. You're right.
yeah. And then would you recommend like any maybe sort of rituals like on the day of a competition, like like even if it's something like putting on the order, maybe you put on your sparring gear, or how you warm up, or like is a certain type of warm up that you have to do. Would that be something maybe you would promote in terms of like a certain ritual or routine on the day of you compete?
Well, the day that I compete, like, okay, if I really think about it, like even when I wake up as soon as possible, like I like to have in my music. This is really important for me to have like this specific list, this music playlist that is really wants to make me dance and make me feel good. And like I used to have really like heavy metal type of, but I would mix. I would say because you still want to have like that kind of like even like especially when you spar and stuff like that, you kind of want to have this, I don't know how to explain, but this kind of attitude and like intensity. So this type of music is helping, but also combined with something like more loose and more playful, that would make me like in a vibe of like I'm feeling great. So a specific playlist that it's important to me, and to just listen to it while I'm getting ready, while I'm eating breakfast, like just to make myself like in that type of mood, and while going all the way to the tournament, like in the bus or whatever. And then there my routine is mainly to just first I wouldn't maybe like go like put my dobak on right away or just sway, but still having like my sweatsuit on, like to warm up with that. And really a big thing for me is not to warm up too early. Like I don't want to warm up for like hours because I'm, stressed. I want to make sure that I'm warmed enough, but I know how long it takes me to warm that. So if it's not time, it's not time, and I'm okay with that. So I would just talk, enjoy like walking around, being in my bubble, just repeating myself also all the things that I know that I'm good at, meaning like technique wise, mindset wise, physical wise, like just to put me in that mood, like you're good, like this is good, remember that. And also if I know I have a long time to wait, like if it's not time to warm up at all and I have a long time in between, I like to sometimes just like rest, like almost take a nap, because I don't want my stress level to go all the way up because I'm just thinking about how long I have to wait. So sometimes just take a nap with the music and chill with that, put myself a timer. And as soon as the timer goes off, then I'm like, all right, now it's time to warm up slowly. I take the time. So I go really general to really specific, obviously depending of pattern or, sparring is really different. But yeah, just still again, I have something part of my routine that I like is I have this notebook in which again I have like a list of all the things that I know that I'm good at. So if I want to watch it again, and also it's a reminder of sometimes techniques like counter like attacks and stuff like that. I like to read it and just do it like slowly afterwards, so it just stays in my mind, because meaning that I've done it before. So when I spar for real, well, it's there, so I know it's going to be easily accessible in my mind to do it when I need it. So that's part of my routine. And yeah, shake it off and then just go at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, what advice? I don't know if you have something or a thought about it yourself. What would be the or what would you think it would happen, or if you didn't have that notebook, or if you didn't have the certain music, like the like it.
Mhm. That's a
Like,
yeah, that's a good question. I like that. Yeah, actually, if I would not have it, now I'm thinking about what happened to the books. It's a bit the same thing. I think that, you know, I don't have it. Like at some point in my career, I would have been, oh my God, like I'm done. You know, like it's again another type of work to do, like not being so attached to that routine. That it's a good thing. I think the thing that you can really on the most is really being able to sit down and maybe close your eyes and put yourself in this state of mind that you want to be in, so that you don't need anything physically wise. So even the music, even like the notebook. So knowing that, even like having this belief that you worked on that, even though you don't have these things, you're still gonna be fine. That's just, you know, a tool, like something you add to. That's just like the yeah, the just the something that you add is not necessary, but it's helpful, obviously.
Yeah.
But again, the most important thing is just dealing with your mind. And when I say dealing, it's just having this great conversation with it. And I like what I told earlier, like dissociate myself. And if this like friend of mine in my head is getting crazy because it's having like all these thoughts or whatever, like I work on, you know, what is this voice is looking for, you know, what is this voice needs right now to feel better. So I was just listening to that. So it's also listening to your own self, even though I do the dissociation thing, but I give myself what I want and what I need at that point to feel better. So I think everything for me is all about how I feel deeply when I am in a good state. I know it's going to be great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that big thing is, as you said, is not being too attached to the routine. That because you don't really want to be in the position where if I, like you said, if I don't have my notebook or if I don't have my notebook, oh my God, I can't win. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, but you have those things, like you said, to that nearly that you don't need them, but they make you feel comfortable. Is the
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
uh, as I know just for myself, like there's, and I didn't realize this for ages, that like there was just a certain order I'd put my sparring gear on, and
Mm-hmm.
it was by accident I kind of discovered that, you know, because I put the wrong glove on first before, and I kind of went, wait, that feels wrong. I was like, oh yeah, because I always put this one on first, and it's not necessarily that if where I think that like, oh, if I don't put my sparring gear on in this order, I'm not going to win, but it just helps me to feel comfortable to put it on that way. If do you know what I mean? It's not like I feel like I have to, like it's lucky for some reason, but it's just makes me feel comfortable to put it on that way. So I'll put it on that way.
That's really true. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Just because I believe we have to stay still flexible in every situation, and that's usually how you see people. When people are able to adapt and be flexible in certain situation, that's usually the one that are able to just manage everything, I would say. So yeah, no attachment. You don't need to attach to something to be like dependent on something to make sure that you win or not. But yeah, it's a good tool. It's a good way to help you feel comfortable and better in your body. It's just something that you add on. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like in terms of maybe I suppose the months leading up to a tournament and the weeks, what sort of I saw you put up a video about mindfulness and make a note of like certain feedback and that you get at certain times and how you react to that. Is that kind of something that you would like do yourself, or that you would promote to for other people to do, that you would work with?
To do the mindfulness, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say that is usually first step ever if you get into mental preparation. Like I would say the one step, most important step is to get mindful of all your thoughts. So that's really when you realize whenever you react, because if you want to know more about your emotional state, your mental state, that's the first thing to do. So a good exercise I would say to try that is to realize on a day to day, like during a day, when do you react, when do you have certain emotion, and as soon as you have the emotion, just being aware of like, oh, what just happened, and being able to see like what made you react this way, which thought did you have in your mind, and from there you'd be like, oh, okay, for example, I got really angry at someone. In my mind, I felt that this person was wrong and was telling me I was wrong, so that's why I got mad. Okay, then my thinking is because I believe that what he said is not good, it's not respectful towards me, so that's why I'm angry. So when you just realize like these old pattern, that's the first step. You realize a lot of things. You realize that first of all, you have a lot of thoughts during the day, and also the other thing is mainly always the same ones, which is pretty funny. So the same one are always repeating, and is the one you have the most. So when you do a switch into these thoughts and into the belief or whatever, it makes a big change in your everyday. And I would say just being able to know whenever you react, what are your triggers? That's what I like to call it. And that's how you call it either way. But what triggers you in a day? And what did you think in your mind that made you react to this trigger? Like, what was the thought? What did you think about? Because an emotion is just like the way that your body talks. That's really how your body just wants to communicate with you. But this thought, this emotion was actually developed by a thought, like it came from a thought at the beginning. So if you think that a person is not respecting you, is disrespecting you at the moment, you will think anger because you know that this is not respect, that you don't want to be like feel this way. But again, does that really mean that the person disrespected you for real, or was just the way that you perceive it? That's another story, you know. So you have to be able at some point to see, like, is it just me who wants to see it this way because each time that I hear this or people react this way, I think a certain way, then I react a certain way. So it's like a whole process. But I think the first step is just being able to see and realize, being conscious of all your thoughts. When I say all, it's like what are the ones that comes at most, and which emotion is linked to this thought. And from there, you can like start the work, like which emotion is usually there the most, when do you react the most, what is usually the trigger. And after that, there's a lot of work that can be done, but that's a really good start.
Yeah. Would it be right to say that it's not even just the negative ones that help? It's the positive ones as well. You see that, like, what triggered the positive thoughts, the positive feelings and emotions, and then you can maybe work towards them as well.
Totally. And I think that's, yeah, that's really good to mention, because these becomes also your reference, if that makes sense. So I really like to work with that also, 'cause as a coach, as a mindset coach, NLP athlete specialist. I really specialize with athletes mainly because of my experience, but I really love to reference to, you know, good experience, because that's what you know also to be good for you. So when, yeah, you react a certain way during your day, that make you feel good, then you can realize which thought was there and how come that makes you feel good. And you can also apply it later on to the one that you react to negatively, because again, it's all a matter of perception. Because you know probably too, like, someone will react the same way to a certain like sentence, and someone that will react differently. It's not because someone said something specifically that's the reason. That's because how we perceived it and how we decided to react to it. Because again, it's a choice to decide to take it personally or not. It's a choice to see it as a bad thing or not. It's a choice to see it as something aggressive or not, because we're taught. And so that's another part too, but like programming, we're taught that this is supposed to be bad, this is supposed to be harmful, or this is supposed to be great too, like again, the positive thought. So that's why I'm reacting this way. And that, because that's what I've learned. But now I don't remember this is unconscious, and now I have to deal with that now.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, is it? Have you find it's is it a time consuming exercise to make note of all your, I suppose, thoughts and emotions throughout the day? I think that would that be maybe something that might affect people jumping into it.
I would say that again, just start with what triggers you. So the thing that are really obvious. So that will give you a good start, like a slow start. And you're right in being, maybe in the beginning you will be like a bit overwhelmed with like what's happening, like to realize how many thoughts and how many reactions you have in a day, because we're so used to be like uh, not sadly, but like I'm automatic pilot, like to just react and that's it. This is how I am and this is how I think, and I don't really know what I'm thinking about, but I just react to it. But as soon as we realize that it's a choice and that we take, like, we become aware of all this, it's overwhelming at the beginning. You're like, okay, what am I supposed to do with that now? But that's just the part of the work, and that's normal. Like, you don't know what you don't know, so as soon as you know it, you're just like, oh my god, there's so much things, you know, to look at and to think about. But then it's a process to just be, all right, okay, I realize why I'm thinking this way, and there's like little steps to take afterward. And after that, it's not as bad. It's not bad, it's just like overwhelming, maybe in the beginning, but just to start with the small step, just to think about what is the trigger in my day to day, what brings me certain emotion, and from there it's a good start.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
if and is there a case like that, like writing it down in the moment kind of can potentially skip to the point? Because you know you might be, I suppose, annoyed or disappointed with something, and you might be angry with a certain with a person or situation, but then you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning and you're kind of like, I don't really care about that, or you feel completely different about it. Does writing it down kind of nearly give the same effect to some degree?
If it the fact that you're sleeping on it and then don't be affected
Yeah,
reading
but
it.
yeah, but like does writing that down, like in the moment, writing that down, give the same effect as potentially, like going to sleep and taking a break and not thinking about like switching off from it? Like it gives that same effect to where you kind of feel, you know what, maybe that's just the way I perceived it. Maybe it's not as bad as I first thought. Like writing it down gives that same effect as like if you sleep on it as such.
Yeah, I would say, and it's even better than to just sleep on it. I would say, because you will see when you just sleep on it, then it's gonna come back and always come back until you address it. But yeah, writing about it, it's really really good because again, just obviously like the first, like I said, to be conscious of all your thought, but then again, if you put it on paper, you can have like this perspective, like this step back of like, oh really, okay, that's what really happened. And I like making drawings, like or organigram or whatever, like to associate things. So, all right, this happened equals this reaction equals what I did, my reaction. Oh, okay, interesting. So that's how usually I put all my thoughts together, like by doing this kind of thing. I think it's kind of helpful because you really visualize it and understand more the process. But yeah, writing them down and writing everything that usually, like in my own routine, even right now, well, even more right now, each night I journal about the day, not something specifically, just what happened and like what got me triggered maybe. Or even when I'm writing down about something, I would have some thoughts and be like, oh look at that, I'm thinking about that right now. Like, so I make the association of why I'm being mad at what I'm writing, of what happened, or why am I so happy. So I like to make all the links in between like my thoughts, so I can understand even better like the whole pattern and work improve even more about it. But writing, so good, I love it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And actually, that could even potentially work well to a point. Like if you're looking back on a tournament, to like, well, I had this thought, like like you said, thought, action, reaction. That like this plus this equals this. Like to put that down even through paper, like looking back, like if you're trying to reflect on the way you were just in a tournament, like never
Mm-hmm.
mind, just I suppose not even just day to day, but if you look back on an event and how you felt throughout the event.
Yeah, I love doing that with like right now in coaching with athletes. Usually when they just come back from a tournament, we do that type of work. So first of all, just knowing for them how satisfied are they about the tournament, even beside the result. Like it can be towards the result, they put a certain number from 1 to 10, just to be really specific, so it gives them something to look at. But also beside the result, like how did you feel about your performance, how did you feel about the way you felt, about the way you think. So it gives more information and more detail, and just taking like putting the focus on the result again, but knowing what happened beside the result. And we can work on the process as well. And after that, just put it into words, like what happened there. Oh, okay, I think at this point this happened and I felt this way. Okay, and what do you think you were thinking about at that point? What was in your mind, and why do you think you were afraid of that, blah blah blah. And we just put it into words, and also the person can write it down afterward. But talking about it afterward, it helps a lot to just process and see like, oh okay, it's not just me having to work on my speed and having to, because obviously you would have some technical work to do, that's okay, and that's like part of the game. But there's also another type of work, is like what was going through your mind while this happened, because this would have an effect on your body, and again would have an effect on the action you will take at this moment.
Yeah. And I think just I suppose kind of going to like looking at what we spoke about already, that like if you get too caught up in like people and can often get too caught up in like the result is the only thing that matters.
Mm.
And I think to some degree that's because that people get so caught up in the result because there's like the perceived expectations that they think other people have. Like they feel like that, like I have to win because if I don't win, then this person will think I'm no good, or this person like, thinks I'm supposed to win, and if I don't win, then I've somehow let them down or something like this. Whereas oftentimes it's not that, like I said, it puts more pressure on just the result, and
Yes.
can often make it feel like that,
Mhm.
obviously if you don't win, that it was a waste of time. But like that, as well as a waste of time for you, you also let it was a waste of time maybe for other people, or you let other people down. When I think to some degree, most people like don't actually care to some degree. Like very few people actually care of how you did to some degree.
Yeah, that is totally true. Even for me, that was something I was thinking about because, for example, my dad was really involved into the sport, was following me to every tournament, and it was really there. So for me, when I was winning or not, I would be like, oh, maybe I just let him down, if I didn't win, or he will be like not mad at me, like, but just yeah, like sad, like that I didn't win. I would believe that really, so I would do my best to not get to this point. But again, I would put that pressure on myself by myself because I believe that. And yeah, most of the time people don't care as much as you do about the result. They're happy for you no matter what. But this is really something about that goes back to when we were younger. And if I go in that like whole thing, um, when we're really young, we used to get, applaud and like congrats when we will like achieve something, get a certain result. Like if you look back when you were at school and when you get a good grade, you're like, wow, good job, congrats. And as soon as there's a bad grade, you're like, oh, you have to learn something. So that like the feeling we get through people, and that's not when we were a kid with like sponge, so we just like get every information and we process it in a certain way. So most of the time when we compete and we get into that kind of sport at a young age, we can understand is that, and this is our own perception, but we can understand that as soon as we win or get a good result, we will be applauded and be like congratulated by other people, and that's their way to tell us that they love us. So that's a really big association, but we're kids, so that's just the way we think, and we just grow with this thinking. And the way it grows with us is by thinking that people do care that much about if we win or not. So that's a big thing to realize, to be like, oh my god, do I care that much about what people think of me? Yes, because when we're younger, we did care about what people would think of us. That's the way that we were looking for love and looking for attention as a kid, and that's the way we grew. But at some point, either we dissociate from that, we understand that it's not doesn't matter that much, but we do want to feel that we're part of a tribe, we're part of a group, we're part of something, and that people care about us. So when we compete, that can get to this level of like, oh my god, if I lose, this thing's gonna happen. People will not like me anymore. People will not care about me. People will be like so sad to see that I didn't achieve this. But in the end, that's because we know deep down that we will be sad about ourselves if we don't do it. We will have a hard time like forgiving ourselves if we don't. It's all towards us more than anything, but we put it on other people. So that's a big, like in NLP, like what I'm doing in coaching, that's a big thing to look at because it's a big programming. I like to call it like that. It's a big thing that we have anchored in our mind that we have to work on to make sure that at some point we get detached from that. And even though the fear of like letting down people will come back, we know that it's okay if we are able to like give ourselves that love and give ourselves like that compassion towards us, we're going to be able to pass through it. But that's a process, and it's a big thing in sport.
Yeah. I suppose, and where I kind of got me to thinking about that was I kind of thought that, like, at the, like, I thought about whenever, I suppose, my friends would lose in anything. Like, I never lost sleep about them losing. And it's not that I wasn't upset for them in the time and that, but you never lose sleep. You never go like at night thinking, "Oh my god, I can't believe that this person lost." You know what I mean? You just like you carry on with your day to some degree, and the same thing happens to you when you lose. Like nobody's losing sleep like when you lose. Nobody's, like maybe very few people, maybe your family or or maybe your coach to some degree, but like there's very few people who are going to lose sleep over you losing in a competition. And it's going to be this, and it's not selfish, cause like, but like, because you're going to feel the same for them, and it goes two ways. Like nobody really cares at the end of the day. It's it's more for yourself, I suppose, for yourself. Like obviously you'll care, but that's where you need
Yeah.
to get people's expectations to some degree.
Mhm. I would even say that people would care more about the fact that they know that you feel that bad about yourself after the loss, not because you lost, but just they care about the fact that you don't feel good about yourself. So maybe that would make them think like, oh, that sucks that you feel this way now that he lost or whatever. But it's really not about the loss. It's really about your reaction towards it, you know. So yeah, and again, that perception comes from in your mind again, obviously, but the fact that you believe that people would think that is because you attach your own value to your result, to your achievement, to whatever you do, instead of just knowing that whoever you are, your personal value is what's matter the most, and that is never affected even if you lose or you win, you know, that never changes. You're always the same, you remain the same, you're always like the best human being you can be, like you have all this potential still, you didn't lose anything even though you just lost a medal. But yeah, that's really a perception of the mind to think that your value is attached to the result or achievement or whatever you accomplish. But it's because that's something we again understood when we were younger, and that follows us now as adult or teenager depending how old we are.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I suppose actually just before maybe we wrap it up, um,
Mm-hmm.
I tend to, if you had to, I tend to ask everybody if you had to pick a favorite fighter or a favorite competitor to watch. You might have mentioned them already. It could be Taekwondo. It could be maybe outside Taekwondo. I don't know if you're interested in MMA or boxing or any other martial art or anything like that. But if you had to pick a favorite competitor, who would you pick?
Just one, well, if I can, yeah, say two right now, because yeah, like I told you, women it always been like just always, so I'll keep this one for women. And right now, since like really close to the family and everything, Julio Carlos, this is someone that I really admire for his talent, is like raw talent. So I like watching him like grow into like whatever he's going through. So yeah, I like watching it from this perspective.
Yeah, definitely a good choice. Definitely, yeah, the one of the top guys in the world. Has got to the final of nearly every tournament he's competed in. So I think that kind of says to how good he is.
Mm-hmm. And what about you? I want to know.
Oh, me, my favorite fighter, I suppose, across men or women is probably Katja. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I don't know could I pick. Actually, I have loads of male
Yeah, I
favorite.
had that once too. And I'm like, if I pick one for now, but also I'm like, you know, Ukrainian, like Billy is really, really good. Like, obviously, like the same family, like, obviously, is good too.
Yeah,
But yeah, what about you for men?
I don't think I could pick one.
Okay, two.
I don't think. Um, two. This. Yeah. Oh, two. I could nearly name five. I think.
I just wanted the name.
But obviously the Thomas Barada would have been one. Neil Ernest, um, I always loved watching Hong when he was competing, Luke Woods when he was competing, and even like guys like someone like Adam Shelley who would be a very close friend. Like so, all those type of guys. Like there's no like all the legends really, all the legends. But yeah, like I think we'll wrap it up there. I've really enjoyed the chat. Thanks, Mina, for coming on. I think there's lots of good stuff there that people can take from your own story and your professional expertise.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really enjoyed. I was happy to talk about all those things and go back into, yeah, Taekwondo again, like the whole time, like competing. It was really a good time. Thank you so much for the invitation.
No worries. And like hopefully we'll get to a World Cup or something like that next year, or World Championships, and everything will get back to some bit normal.
Yeah, hopefully. I
Mm.
would love to. Like, I would love to get back to another and traveling again and do all those things. That would be lovely.
Yeah, yeah. So look, until then, keep safe and all the best.
Thank you. You too. Good continuation.
Bye.